All right. Hey, it's me again. Sorry for taking up 2 slots in this single conference, but I'm going to talk about not AI stuff, just Envoy extensions and dynamic modules. So the thing is that this talk is not really about JavaScript, but this is more about dynamic modules. And the takeaway is how powerful it is, and it's expanding a lot of the possibilities and use cases that weren't possible before. Of course, it was anything is possible because it's software and you can write C++ extension. But what I'm trying to say is that dynamic modules is really powerful for use cases in a normal way without forking Envoy or writing in C++. So that's the message I wanted to deliver in this talk. So we have a few mechanisms, of course. We have external processing. We are using in a lot of projects. For example, we are using it in Envoy AI Gateway Project 2. It's battle tested. Everyone is using it. And also we have WebAssembly for sandboxing use cases, like when you want to deploy the untrusted binary or untrusted extensions on your own infrastructure. And the next one, of course, Lua. Lua is very popular in like network proxy community because it's popular in Nginx engineers community. Lastly, we have static C++ filters. You can write C++ and compile it together with Envoy, of course, but you have to maintain Envoy by yourself in that case. The good news is that we have dynamic modules, which is new. I think it was released in April 1.34, and I did a talk on this exact topic last EnvoyCon Europe. So feel free to check it out if you are curious about it. But let me do some recap on dynamic modules just in case. So it is a shared library. So what that means is that you can use whatever language you want, whatever compiled language, because I don't think I think any compiled language can produce shared library. But it's not just shared library, but you have to implement Envoy C API, which is written in a C header file, single, like 2,000 lines of code with some extensive, with lots of documentation. But the nice thing about shared library is that you can bring in any third-party dependency without worrying about whether or not this library is acceptable on upstream or not, because you can load at the runtime without restarting Envoy or without recompiling Envoy. And it's almost feature complete, so you can implement whatever you want, of course, and maybe there's some exception, but I think for most use cases, you can use dynamic modules, especially in HTTP filters. So one of the crazy examples is that one of my friends developed Python WSGI implementation in dynamic modules, and it's working very great. So that shows how powerful it is. But having said that, though, writing extension is really hard, and always, even Envoy professionals sometimes struggling to write correct behavior. External processor, you have to maintain deployment. Of course, it's going to require you understand Envoy internal knowledge. But luckily, of course, Envoy is very powerful by default, so you can use built-in extensions for basic use cases. But however, there's always some cases that you have to write some custom logic that are not present in the upstream Envoy. So in that case, Lua is very easy to write. I would say it's lightweight extension, and it's enough for most cases. But I think the question I would like to ask right now is that, can we do better? Is Lua the final choice for that use case? So if you take a look at this Stack Overflow developer survey, you'll see Lua on the bottom. It's not that unpopular, but it's not that popular either. So I think the initial motivation was, why don't we just, like most popular program language, why don't we just bring it to Envoy community? So that's the motivation behind this talk. So I did some prototyping, I pushed the source code already to Envoy proxy slash dynamic modules example repository. So feel free to check it out. The thing is that I chose Go and the Go JavaScript engine for first prototyping. But if you want to make it production ready, I would choose Rust and maybe JavaScript kit or maybe V8 engine. But the point is that it's very easy to write things like this with dynamic modules. So you can bring in any third-party dependency and so on. So here's the example configuration for JavaScript filter. So it looks exactly like Lua filter, where you embed some script and you have some callback functions, and inside of it, maybe your console.log function, setting headers, get headers, and so on. So this is filter configuration example. So I recorded the demo because I wanted to avoid failure. So let me show you some examples. So on the left-hand side, you see some callback functions where I'm calling console.log to log some messages into Envoy's std out, and setting headers, getting headers, and so on. So on the response path, I'm setting xAnimal cat header. So let's see how it goes. I'm running a, let's see, for a few seconds. So I'm running Envoy and then make some requests to that Envoy. Then you'll see some loggings coming from JavaScript console.log function, and headers are logged. And then on the response path, you see xAnimal cat headers are inserted by JavaScript callback. Then foo bar headers are logged by request path callback. And then xAnimal headers are inserted. And then let's change the animal from cat to dog. Then you should see some xAnimal dog header coming from JavaScript. Here we go. So I see xAnimal dog headers are inserted by JavaScript function. So that is pretty much it. So the conclusion is it's not really about JavaScript, but dynamic module is very powerful. You can write things like this very easily. And I think same idea can be applied to Python, Ruby, Python extension, Ruby extension. Maybe hosting the official JavaScript modules maybe makes sense. I don't know. Yeah, thank you.